What is your relationship with the current county council members and other candidates?
I do know there are three parties that are running. We have serious ideological differences because they're more for corporate control and government control. I'm more for people control. And then and their background proves that. I mean, it goes back to way back to 2010 when Bernard was mayor. He was involved with bringing the islands together way back when climate change was an issue with Barack Obama. And here we are 16 years into the program, and how much money has been spent and wasted, and what have we gotten in return? How has that benefited the people? And Mel was openly on Facebook Live during COVID and other things, talking about arresting people, jailing them, and $5,000 fines. So I don't know how he can represent all people on this island when he's actually disassociated and disenfranchised him for probably half the island. And he's been involved a long time in politics. And as a lawmaker, whether it be Felicia, Mel, or Bernard, you should know that mandates are not law. And when you swear an oath to the Constitution, and you're in the legislative branch who makes law, you need to know what the law is. So I also teach the hierarchy of law on the national podcast and in local conversations, because the highest law is creator's law, and then it goes into other laws. But if you don't know mandates are not law, see, people's retained rights are never forfeited or waived, even in the time of war or a perceived or a real pandemic. You cannot take away people's retained rights because they didn't come from government. So right away, during that phase of life, they were telling people you can't go to church. I mean, that's your God-given right. You can't stop people from going to church. You can't force people to wear masks. You can't force people to social distance when there's really no scientific evidence that supports that. And I have a certificate in biotechnology manufacturing, so I have a little bit of knowledge of scientific method. And Mel Raposo is also a chief investigator. Now, the chief investigator is supposed to investigate. If you're going to lock down an island or force people to do certain things, you better have knowledge because you're the chief. So you're supposed to have the highest knowledge of anyone of what's going on. And we and others brought him irrefutable evidence to look into and investigate during COVID, and they bypassed it. They just didn't address it at all. So if you're not going to investigate, why are you an investigator? As a former policeman, you would think he would know mandates are not law, and you would think they would know the Constitution. When I investigated the oaths of office of our county council people and our mayor and others, they swore an affirmation to do their job to the best of their ability. Well, that means at least following your job description. They didn't even follow their job description during these crises because they're not really in charge. The United Nations took a good firm hold of our island back in 2010. So we're under programs, and some people were rewarded under those programs for following the United Nations rules. I believe that was Felicia. So that again is taxpayer money, and that was not authorized. Bernard also had a skeleton in his closet regarding stealing of gas. So these people should not be rewarded for the things they've done. Even during COVID, they voted themselves a raise while the people are living paycheck to paycheck. Not proper. You're a government official paid by the taxpayers. People are suffering paycheck to paycheck, and you're giving yourself a raise. That does not play well, and the people will not forget that. So again, when I'm out there speaking with the people, I'm going to be speaking common sense knowledge. That you're the government people. How can we serve you? We're not afraid to make decisions that benefit everyone, but we need to know what the people are actually thinking. So when they have a county council meeting, the things I've noticed over the years is they call the people in for their testimony. But I'm also smart enough to know that those decisions have already been made before the people even give their testimony. They have to check a box, and one of the boxes, the people have to have testimony. So it's all a big facade. We've been lied to most of our lives from government, even in our education systems. That's more an indoctrination system. We need our children to be children again. We don't need them to be experiments for government. They need to be playing in nature. They need to be learning the math and the sciences and the things that are going to serve them in life. I also believe in vocational learning centers and project learning-based centers. Now, we have some vocational centers here on the island currently. I'd like to expand those and create new ones because children learn in different ways. In the school system, it's audio, visual, or hands-on. But there are children who are kinetic. There are children that are expressive learners. There are children that learn in many different ways. And so we need to allow them the opportunities to grow themselves to their full potential, to guide them, not to force them, not to lead by memorization, to allow them to be freely out there experimenting and learning what their passions in life really are. Because what happens is a lot of our locals move off the island, not only because they can't afford it, because there's no opportunities for them here. We need to keep them here, and we need to expand our farming, our agriculture, because we should be food independent. The natural resources belong to all the people. We need to take back control of our natural resources. We need to remove the toxins not only from our food, but from our air, our land, our water, our natural medicines, and the minds of the people. We live in a world of duality. So there's always going to be yes or no. There's always going to be a Republican and a Democrat, and throw in libertarian, progressive, and others. There's always going to be right and wrong. So the one thing that we see in life is when life is created, it takes a masculine and a feminine energy to come together. And when that energy comes together and creates a life, whether it be an animal or a human, that's when life is created in that union. So when we can start working together in oneness and stop the world of duality where the left brain and the right brain are in conflict with each other, we're in a time of higher consciousness. So once we get to that stage of oneness, there isn't anything we can't overcome because we're limitless and endless beings of creation. We're being stifled by the controls and regulations of government. Look at our small businesses. During COVID, these politicians that are running against me, they're responsible for the closure of 40% of our, and loss of over 40% of our small businesses. We need to encourage the growth of small business. We need to provide programs that are reward programs or incentive programs, regulatory relief, so that local small businesses can expand and give additional credits to those who are buying, selling, and promoting local Hawaiian-made goods. Our small business is the crux of who we are. So when tourism comes, they're going to the local businesses. They don't want to buy their goods at Walmart. They want to buy local Hawaiian-made products. The regulations that are put on us by county government and state government stifles the small business because, again, the three main opponents that I know are totally against. They'll talk about small business growth, but everything they do is for special interests, non-governmental organizations, and the growth of the corporations. Do you know that we have 932 non-governmental organizations on the island of Kauai that they have $1.07 billion in assets and $456 million in revenue. That's on an island of 72,000 people, of which half of them are probably children. So you can see how everything's distorted. So who are we serving? We're serving special interests. So that's why we need to improve the infrastructure in the neighborhoods and in the communities, and why our government officials need to be out there with the people. We're not sitting at a desk to be worshipped and adored and to vote ourselves a raise. We're to be out there and make sure that people aren't living paycheck to paycheck, that they have food on the table, locally grown, healthy food. natural medicines to heal the problems that we have. And even in our homeless community and bringing them back, we need to have housing that not only gets them off the streets, but facilities that can deal with the rehabilitation if it's drugs, mental illness, the amount of strain that's been put on the people over the years. And it needs to be affordable, and we can do that because there's so much technology out there to build not only tiny homes, but tiny homes are actually 2 and 3 bedrooms now and more. We can affordably do that. All it takes is removing the thumb of the United Nations special interest and non-governmental organizations from the people. And I know how to do that. I was successful in building, our company dealt with mostly government contracts in the beginning. General Instruments was the largest Fortune 500 company. And I started out at the ground floor of the business systems division and ended up being the head of operations for the entire country. But at the same time, I knew where the resources that were most important to me were the people that were doing the installations, because we were in the computer service business, high-end computer equipment, networking, mom and pop stores, remittance processing equipment, point-of-sale equipment. So we were involved in, like I said, in finance, insurance, wholesale, retail. So we have every aspect of industry, but it's the people who drive the business. Who knows more about the problems in the county of Kauai than the people themselves? It's very important to me to do that due diligence where we're out there with the people. I'm not like the rest of them. I'm my own person, again, being not a politician, I can't be bought. My ethics are very high, my standards are high, because when you go to a company, they have policies and procedures. Just meet the policies and procedures, you might get a raise. The frontline workers can destroy your county, can destroy your business in 5 minutes, just by speaking badly of the organization. So that's why it's important not only to know the people you're serving, but the people who work with you as well.